Hello everyone, welcome. Tonight we are having an interesting presentation and discussion between the students of for Audiovisual Studies at FAMU Prague and Digital Arts at Academy of Fine Arts and Design in Bratislava. What does the upcoming generation of artists think about the future of visual cultures in the age of autonomous image production? Will artificial intelligence be their partner or their enemy? They met this morning for a workshop to discuss their vision of this future, where they developed their standpoints in the form of rules for the AI. Now they are here to present these to you and discuss them. I will shortly give the word to their program leaders, Lukáš Likavčan and András Čefalvaj, to introduce them. But before, just let me thank to the festival partners, namely Abacus Foundation, Slovak Arts Council, and the City of Prague for supporting this event. And also let me inform you that this event is being recorded and it's live streamed. So we would like to greet our audience on YouTube, and feel free to ask questions there in the live chat, and we will be checking them, and we will communicate them to the students. So that way you can join the discussion. You can also make use of our festival Discord channel. We will share the link in the chat. We have dedicated text channel to this event there, and you can also hang out in the voice channels later if you feel like talking after the event ends. So thank you for joining the discussion. And now Lukáš and András, you can take over from here. Thank you.
So thank you very much and welcome everyone. This is a real pleasure that we can be here, and also the whole digital arts and the students. And I think it was an interesting experience. So the digital arts is actually a new program at the Academy of Fine Arts in Bratislava. And we have been, of course, long been using many digital instruments and productive tools. But we realized that in the current age, we also need a reflection. So we are trying to not only learn, but also learn about the instrument that we are using and taking them apart, hacking them. And one of the important things is that besides the art and art history and philosophy background, we are also trying to give some technical and programmer background. Actually, the digital art is very new. We just started this year. So unfortunately, because of Corona, we also had some limitations, but I think we already start to function very nicely. And it is also a new thing that we are actually not part of the academy, any department of the academy, but we are an independent platform. And also there is no master, an assistant and student hierarchy, but we are actually a group of people who are leading together. So besides me, there is the architect, Kristina Rypáková, the programmer, Matej Novotný, the philosopher, Ladislav Tkáčik, and also two external theoreticians, Monika Mitášová and Professor Zervan, Marian Zervan, who are also advising the team, and we are trying to find out also some new ways of teaching digital arts. Just let me introduce our students. So here with us, we have Prokop Findeis and Samuel Hadbavi, Natalia Zajíčková, Adela Luisa Lučeničová, Emma Zahradnická, Leonard Lofaj, and I'm not sure if I left someone out, but these are our students here together with us. Thank you, Lukáš. I am leaving you the floor.
András. Yeah, thank you, András, for the introduction of your collective. The student collective that I sort of lead is the group of students at Center for Audiovisual Studies at Film and TV School of the Academy of Performing Arts in Prague. The short version is CAS FAMU, CAS FAMU. And so what we do is that basically the group that you're gonna meet today is mostly composed of people from the undergrads, meaning either first or the second or the third year of the undergrads, and they visit the class which is called Machine Audiovisual Cultures, which is one of the classes that I teach at FAMU. And this class is basically composed of 3 modules. One is dedicated to digital platforms, one is dedicated to computer games or video games in general. And the third one, the one that actually this workshop is sort of a conclusion of, is the model which is related to artificial intelligence. So we read a couple of texts together by engineers from Google, as well as from philosophers and artists. And we tried to gather together a series of insights in the form of some discussion or knowledge cards that you're going to see today. And so basically, that's also the way how I would introduce the students in person by names. That's Jozef Csabo, that's Alex Sihelska, that's Lala Myslíková, Joachim Ozuna, Gabriela Kalná, Alice Uspergerová, David Pavlis, and Jan Jindřich-Karásek. Just to note, only some of these students are actually students from Fine Arts program at Central for Audiovisual Studies. There are also some students from Department of Photography in the group, but also from other departments of FAMU as TV and Film School, meaning also, for example, people who are, learning how to be directors or script writers. So the group is really diverse. And so it might be exciting to see what they are up to tell us today.
So thank you for, yeah, I just wanted to thank you for the introduction. And yeah, Andras, you wanted to say something. I jumped into it. No? Okay. Then shall we begin? So let's start with the first group.
Okay, hello, my name is Joseph, and I'm in team number 1. It's me and Alex Sihelska from department, the CAS department. And with us was Natalia Zajíčková from Bratislava, from digital department, new digital department. We created, I don't know if I can present the main topic which we were given. We were given cards, as you should see behind us. We created cards on Magic the Gathering style, which are somehow AI involved, and as the cards tell, really jumped into the style of the game and how it should work. So we tell ourselves that we can create something like creatures and spells. So the first creature is the PR manager behind me. As you can see, it's it's simple generated image mixed together with Putin and the Matrix. The card has, or the creature has its own bidding, and it's let your feet be the fuel. PR master learns communication strategies from the content of your current feed. Uncreated, savage, wholesome, it attacks your virtual comfort zone. Watch your weapon turn against you. Ethical Codex 0, aspect chaos. Damage 10, protection 7. It's really a heavy card to play with, and it's really heavy to defeat it because it's total anarchy and chaos within it. So beware. Then we have another 2 cards. I don't know, Alex, if you want to present your one.
Yeah, I can go. So the second card is called #42, which comes from Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy Travels. and it is a creature, and its parameters are seeking the right answers, train your AI with non-human entities and let them figure out how to fix problems created by human population, articulate cryptic message for you to share with your non-human partners, change the perception of the value of human intelligence, and it should heal each one of your creature by 10 points. And this card is trying to break down the hierarchy between supposed supreme human intelligence in the contrast to another intelligences that exist in this world. And it also sort of is putting the blame on the other side and asking these other entities to kind of deal with our problems. And its damage is unknown. Ethical codex is also unknown, but the aspect is kinship, derived from Donna Haraway's Cyborg Manifesto. Yeah.
So, and the third card, if I can, is the spell. It's hide and seek. Is it the spell which is like hijack facial recognition on the base of deep space face learning? The engine blurs recognizable facial features on CCTV cameras. Hide your face, speak up loud, and with this spell, you and your face and your facial recognizable facial will disappear from cameras, or it's from social media or from other open AI, or not even open AI, which are working with the face recognizable. Protection is 15, ethical codex is 5, and aspect is solidarity.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Are there any opinions on this from the rest of the group and from the other groups?
We have a very similar card in our group, similar to Natalia's. So I'm very glad I can follow her up quite soon.
So maybe this one is the one needed or required, that our face will not be recognizable.
Yeah, and I can see you are already using it.
Really? I don't know how. Not me. But, yeah.
And I find the hashtag 42 card quite interesting, like how it unlocks, different narratives, I guess, of how we can think about intelligence. Because actually there is not just one way how we can narrate the, some kind of supremacy, if you will, of machine over human intelligence. Of course, that's a dubious claim per se. Some people, for good reasons, might disagree that there is any kind of supremacy of artificial over human intelligence. And I think that's actually the case, that still humans are somehow smarter, said in very general terms. But these different narratives, like I would like to ask you, Alex, or anyone else from the group, like you maybe know like these two films, like Alphaville by Godard and then Solaris by Tarkovsky. Maybe you saw them. And like in Solaris, you have this ocean that thinks some kind of natural force that has its own intelligence. And in Alphaville, like there is this other narrative of intelligence, like some despotic machine that basically organizes everything around itself. And would you say this kind of hashtag 42 intelligence is more like this despotic machine or more like a natural force of intelligence?
I think we were thinking in a utopian way and more like this natural intelligence. We were first thinking about how it would work if we trained the AI on these and other intelligences, like on dolphins or octopuses. And I think they maybe wouldn't be so inclined on destroying and more on fixing. But I don't know. I never spoke to octopus, but I would like to keep this idea that they know better.
Also, we were trying to figure out how could the AI not learn from us, but from each other. So this card also represents this thing, but we thought it's really hard right now to say AI is not learning from anything except of its own being, or how can I say that? Like you have to put some information into it. You have to, and mostly it's the human information. So it's based on human, not on its own.
But to me, it looks like a little bit that at the moment we can only play your cards. The other two are not playable yet. The board state is not ready for those cards, but I think the PR manager is already on the board, if I understand this game.
Yeah, the PR manager is totally on the board. But we are not into the original game, so probably we should create a new one for this.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe. Well, we already have a good beginning with almost a pack of cards. So, are there any more comments, or should we let the next group speak? So then I would like to ask the second group to present.
Okay, so hello everybody listening, watching. I am speaking as behalf of a group consisting of me and Lala Myslikova and Lucia Zahradničková. And we started our talk prior to this about digital surveillance and how you know, the question of us, our data being collected and manifested in different ways as something, you know, not a new information, and but that most of us still somehow give in the data, you know, mindlessly but choicefully. And we got to this London group, the Dazzled Club. They're activists and artists who organize these walks in public spaces, and they do it because they do it to protest surveillance systems implemented in the real world, as London is one of the most surveyed city, the most surveyed city in Europe, and one of the most smartest cities technologically wise in the world, in the sense. And they, you can see that on the card next to me. They use this special kind of face paint that kind of breaks up, you know, the features of the face that can be recognized by surveillance systems using various geometrical signs and shapes and bold colors. And the face then becomes it becomes practically invisible for the camera systems. And you know, in their sense, they create these like parades, and everybody's painted colorful, and I think it looks quite whimsical when one searches the pictures of them. But you know, it also of course has a darker side to it. And a lot of this face paint, for instance, was used often in the Hong Kong protests, of course. And kind of opposing this card then is oh wait, actually I'll read maybe the card itself. It's called the Mask of the mask of digital invisibility. It grants the user full immunity from digital recognition. No technologically produced spells can have effect. And then we added a quote by architect and designer Fuller. 99% of who you are is invisible and untouchable. And then our second card is kind of, it's touching on a similar subject of our data that we, you know, leave around throughout our digital lifespan. And it's kind of, we try to encompass like a bipolar view of some kind of technological future, you know, not to paint it only utopian or dystopian. So on, let's say, the opposite side of this anti-technology view of the first card is our data resurrection card, which brings back a character of our choice through their digital remnants. And then the character gains +2 in attacks and -2 in defenses. But it's like an idea where in a possibly near or far future, we could be resurrected based only on, you know, all the information that stays behind us after our physical bodies decompose, but we are somehow kept alive forever through, you know, these digital remnants. But then it's also, it's not, I don't think it's also necessarily utopian, and both of the cards are kind of connected by this mask, by the symbol of a mask, where in one sense the mask hides our true self and lets us, you know, keep our secrets and disappear, I guess, for a while. And but also thinking about what we leave on social media, for instance, that's also something that can be considered a mask that we, you know, create for ourselves and then distribute and then kind of hide behind it. So so that is a little information about our cards. I don't know if the girls want to add anything, if I forgot to mention anything.
Well, I guess no, people didn't see the second card.
The second card is on Lala.
Yeah, but Lala, if you could just maybe say hello, so it will spotlight you in the live stream.
Yeah, so the second card is on my background, and I can also read the card text. You didn't do that, yeah, Joachim?
I think I did.
Okay.
I mean,
like the mine text or your
I read both, I think.
Okay. Yeah, so I think, yeah, the symbol of the mask is important, and the both side of the example, like the positive one and the not so positive, like the negative and critic. And yeah, so is it okay now?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, maybe we can continue with the other group.
Yeah, maybe before that, are there any comments from anyone or questions? Maybe let's have some space to reflect on your cards. Anyone?
Well, maybe I just want to say that I really appreciate the Buckminster Fuller quotation, because that brings me to the question, so what's the proportion today if, like, in 1960s or 1970s, when actually Buckminster Fuller was saying this, so what's that actually the 99% of our identity is invisible and untouchable. So what's the proportion today? Like, given also this exposure to the algorithms and other forms of, you know, digital presentation that somehow, you know, actually let a lot of what we are being collected, being memorized by some external devices. So what would you guess is the proportion today? It's definitely not 99%. I don't know whether it's like 50 or 40.
Maybe it's 99% visible and the rest is the important. But of course,
Yes, I wanted to say something similar. How I feel like we have the need to share even more. You know, like even the things that aren't visible, we kind of are pushed to visualize them in some sense and then share them and comment and whatsoever.
But what if it is not actually your hidden part that is revealed, but what if it is just a spectacle, just an artifice? That actually presentation is not revelation, but obfuscation.
And right now, you're not only obfuscating some kind of authorities, but you are actually basing the future society, I mean AI, learning about us on falsehood and misrepresentation.
But I wonder what would be then the consequence for digital restoration hypothesis of the second card. Can you comment on that, perhaps?
Oh yes, of course. We have a quote there. Maybe Lala could read it. I forgot to read that.
Yes, I can. Of course. Just give me a sec. Yeah, so the quote is, small memories from the past all coming together, reconstruction, you from the best parts of your history. And it's by Zuckerberg's sons, yeah? Or
Yes, we titled him Mark M. Zuckerberg III. It's kind of a joke, you know. We envision just this kind of new, let's say, aristocracy, technocracy. I mean, basically that, of course, once having this power, I guess, then of course it'll have like long-lasting ties to whoever gives in. I mean, I view it as in kind of a Faust deal in some sorts. You know, you give in some part of your life, but then you gain some kind of I don't know, immortality, but a very fragile and fragmented one.
And if I can ask, so about the game mechanics, I see that you have some resources saying that you have to tweet it, share it on Facebook and TikTok it if you want to play this card. Is it how it works?
Yes, we also don't play Magic the Gathering, so it's purely illustrative, I would say. But Emma can oppose me.
yeah, like it's more illustrative, but it's illustrating like that the recreation of the person, of the creature, is like from this digital sources, and yeah, from the social media.
Okay, thank you. If there are there still any questions or comments? Well, if not, then I think we can let the third group present. And maybe we can do an experiment. So like when the group is presenting, we will turn, the rest of us will turn off the cameras. So only the group will be visible on the stream. Okay.
Hi, we're group 3. It was myself, Alice, and Prokop, and we built on a concept of humans being the parents of AI, and we took a very strange techno-optimistic approach to this, and used a stereotype of a new child and a gentle, nurturing parenting technique to avoid complete catastrophe in AI. And I'm going to share our screen. And we use 3 phases of card evolution here. We'll show you the first. And Alice will read it for you.
First card is, congratulations, it's a baby AI. You're now a parent. You have just been blessed with a baby AI. It's in a simple evolutionary phase. It might only know how to mumble translation or choose your favorite Spotify songs to shuffle, but remember, your AI is still a baby. Raising it will take patience, care, and discipline. Keep feeding your baby with first words of data sets and stick to the baby food. Feed it with small pixels and simply formulated text.
So we used the inspiration of an egg here to create our visual, which Prokop did, and we used as inspiration this Tamagotchi game where you feed and care for a simulation of a live being. And it's something that Alice grew up with, and we kind of took it from there. The second card.
Warning birthday card. Level of discipline, beware of raising a brat. It's a big day to celebrate. Your AI now has a complex neural network and massive dataset, and you may feel inclined to let baby into the world. But beware, you have probably heard of baby demon called Tay, whose parents failed completely. Keep your level of discipline high and feed baby with positive life values. Avoid creating a negative bias. Stay woke and explain to them the deep-root systemic injustice that they will need to understand.
Remember that the more sweets a child eats, the more sugar it craves. Avoid creating bad habits that could manifest in the future. Beware of bad influences in your surroundings, like a nosy aunt in putting data into your baby's neural network behind your back. So this warning card came from the inspiration of Microsoft's very bad parenting of their AI Ty, which showed that within 24 hours, if it is exposed to racist right-wing conservative propaganda, it will itself become racist and right-wing conservative, possibly even extremist. So we use this warning card to try to, after a discussion on nature versus nurture, on trying to avoid early mistakes in early childhood development, because although we've taken this techno-optimistic route, we still have to be very careful when working with AI, especially when we are in charge and raising it, which leads us to our third card.
Also, baby is baby and AI. Third card, mission complete. Your AI will now take care of you in your old age.
Sit back and let your offspring's intelligence shine through the carefully chosen data sets you fed it with its whole life, by finally teaching you new things about the world and uplifting your life quality to new levels. Your baby can do anything, from driving you around in a Tesla to having those intellectual discussions when you're lonely, to protecting you, their parent, from the difficulties of aging. You've done your job. You can now reap the fruits of your labor and rest knowing that your legacy will live on. We wanted to play a little bit with the switching and reversal of roles here, as does happen with humans as well. And if you have done your job correctly as an AI parent, and you have exposed all the right values in your AI, you might get a beautiful pure lotus like this one. We also wanted to pinpoint that the AI can also teach you. It can be a two-sided relationship, and in this fantasy that we've created, your legacy can live on through technology if we close our techno-pessimistic eyes for a little short while.
Yeah,
that's it for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have to say I love the name Bye and the comparison to Tamagotchi. You gave me a real flashback to my childhood. Do you think that maybe one day when it will be more common for people to like train their own AI models, do you think it could be like part of, or should be something like this kind of Tamagotchi, but for AI? Should that be a part of education? Like, something that is taught on secondary schools, maybe?
Yeah, if we hope for a good outcome, I think that the more education that can be available, the better. If we don't decide to reject it, then we have to adapt to it and go with it and hope for the best, that it will bring out the best in humanity and not the worst. But that's a very, very contrasting world. But yeah.
Is it possible that AI then could be also good teachers at some point? Because if they will be taught well, then they could maybe do some of the repetitive jobs, it's the repetitive part of some of teaching, when you are exercising with children or you're correcting homework or something, and then the human teachers could only do the more exciting part.
That's a rough one. I'm personally a believer in experiential learning, so the AI as teacher is a rough one for me to imagine, but definitely, I mean, it can help in so many different fields, that why not education? But I think that replacing the human contact that happens in education might be a bit problematic, definitely. And I mean, these cards should be taken with a grain of salt, obviously. But it is possible, I think, but hopefully not complete replacement. That would be the dystopia that we're trying to stay clear of.
I have a bit darker question. Like, what about trauma in the nurture process? Because I remember this story of like I was once at a lecture of a person who was responsible for, basically, metaphorically speaking, raising the algorithms for Uber self-driving cars, and they had this bias that they were afraid of bushes, because the young students of computer engineering working at the testing site where they were testing the vehicles, they basically were making these jokes that they were jumping from behind the bushes to the cars. And the cars basically developed this bias that bush signals a possibility of a person behind the bush. So be careful, drive slowly or stop completely. So this kind of, trauma from the testing process became something that basically prevented them from being successful when they were in the real world traffic. So I wonder, like, how would you cope with trauma in these kinds of situations of raising or nurturing the AI?
I would get an AI therapist, probably. I mean, first of all, the notion of AI being able to have emotions such as fear, or I guess through this bias, it is equivalent to our human emotions in some way, or somehow parallel to that, because I don't think, right, that if it's artificial intelligence, it can really like feel things apart from or differing from the popular movies of our days where people fall in love with AI. But yeah, probably a really good psychologist that is also an AI to deal with the fear of bushes and being very careful what, as human parents, we input into our children, which can go for non-AI as well.
Prokop, would you like to add something to that?
I don't know. They said everything you need to know, or well, maybe to this question, I was thinking about it, and it's something like you can compare it to also to people, because people could be scared too of bushes because they don't know if there's some guy who can jump into the road, you know.
Or some
So,
AI jumping from behind.
yeah. so maybe some kind of algorithm which makes the AI be more not scared, you know. So I don't know. It's really a hard question or think, you know.
Yeah, that even leads me to such a speculation of antidepressants for AI, you know, or some calming pills.
I think, but I think it's definitely that is what is going to happen, because we are teaching them the way we learn in a way. So that's why we have problems with the bushes, and that's why. So I guess it is really hard to avoid human mistakes if we are making the AI learn the even. I mean, it's hard if they actually learn the human way. I guess that's a question. But I think the end, if we really teach them the human way, I mean, the logical, if they're intelligent at all, then it really should end in depression.
Yeah, but the thing is actually that we don't know in some cases actually how exactly neural networks function in the black box. So we can teach them our human way, but then I mean, when I'm talking about unsupervised learning, they just compute the information and we don't know actually all the details. So maybe that's actually not a human way of learning already. Okay, are there any more comments or questions?
I just wanted to say, girls, that I really liked your card. I really think this idea of, making your algorithm your best friend as has a positive outcome. I think that's very true. For instance, I'm a big TikTok propagator. I think it's where like the most interesting and free content is being created right now. But it's really hard to get people, I think, like attracted to it because I often forget that my algorithm that I think is really interesting and like arty in a sense, that I have been curating it for almost 3 years now. So for a person to dive in from square one is a completely different experience, and it will always be a completely different experience than that of me. And that can be, of course, said about any this fun social media platform.
It can definitely be a lifelong bond, however long the lifespan of AI is. Who knows? We have yet to figure that out. But thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So let's give space to the next group, the fourth group, if I'm correct.
Oh, and who is that? Is that us?
I think so, yes.
All right. So let me just share my screen. All right. So I've been working with David, and
well, the whole concept was really spontaneous, and it came together after we've talked about the impact of AI on arts in the sense of, well, if we should be scared that AI will replace artists in the future, because nowadays you have a lot of tools on the internet which still are making their first baby steps, but there already are those tools which you can use to create art with basically more or less no effort, and the computer will generate the whole piece of art for you. Um, for example, you have creators creating softwares where you sketch some simple drawing and it will generate a landscape for you, or you have a generator which you feed songs and it will spit out a song basically which sounds like for example, I've heard a song which by Eminem. He did not create, but it was AI generated, and it sounded exactly like him. Um, and then we moved on to the question of whether it's ethical to reproduce the likeness of actors who are deceased in sequel movies. So that's kind of what we've been talking about, how modern film industry uses a artificial intelligence to, kind of revive actors. For example, the recent examples are Paul Walker in Fast and Furious series, or Princess Leia in Star Wars. I can't remember her real name now. So yeah, and David came up with an idea of kind of a god who oversees this process. I'll let him speak on it more. While I kind of took upon myself to visualize his idea of this god. So yeah, I think David can continue.
Yeah, so we came up with this god, the glitch god, whose name is the artifact. And I'll first read you the card, and then I can talk more about it. The god artifact is a legendary creature, and it seeks balance between life and death in the digital world. It brings visual artifacts like noise or glitches into art pieces, which reproduce a voice, an appearance, and more of already deceased artists, which manipulate and resurrect their soul in another way. Artifact strives to preserve a mortal essence of life, which lies in vicissitude and irreplaceability. So basically, this creature, we imagine it kind of drives through a digital space, and by some sort of an algorithm, it seeks out any newly being rendered areas of maybe films which use faces of deceased actors, or as Leonard said, music that is just reproducing an actual artist's original music. and then he comes into these places, and as you can see on the card, he has multiple ways to kind of make ways to put some sort of glitches or other artifacts into those arts, so they are manipulated in another way and are at least in some way altered, so they can't reproduce the original in a perfect way. And now, as I'm thinking of this creature or what it actually is, the funny way is that it actually must be an AI in itself. So it seems like there's an artificial intelligence fighting artificial intelligence. So yeah, that's basically it.
Thank you. So are there any comments or questions?
I just wonder, was the beginning of the story of the glitch god, like how it started? Was it like some kind of tame algorithm that was used by artists to make their voice, for example, better, or may, for example, I don't know, I can imagine myself using it that, for example, I want to make my accent better, so I use this kind of algorithm to actually make my English better, for example, by such kind of modulation. And so, like, I just wonder, like, whether you have any guesses or any kind of backstory for this, like, what was the original use of the glitch god, because they appeared in this kind of evil role, or another evil role. I think it's kind of interesting spectral role, sort of.
I'd say I think the whole text was created by David, so maybe he would be better to answer the question. But I kind of see a parallel to, it may not be even like a tool, this glitch god, but if you look at those reproduced faces of actors and those characters whose actors are already dead, they never are like real. They never seem convincing. There's always something off with their faces. Either it's the eyes or the mouth just move unnatural and not an unnatural way. And how I perceive this artifact, the glitch god, that is that he already exists, and this card is basically just a some kind of how would
maybe
I,
a way to summon him, maybe.
Yeah, maybe a way to summon him, or some kind of a materialization of already occurring effect. So yeah.
A long silence.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm heard or not.
Yeah, yes, you are. It's just
okay.
Classic Zoom silence. Maybe I wanted to ask, because when you started presenting the card, you mentioned that the AI and these new products and services that are fueled by AI make it very easy for people to create art. And it, I mean, what do you think, guys, about this whole discussion, whether it is art or not, when it's just, you know, generated very quickly and everyone can do it? Do you think it's enough for it to be art?
Well, I think that's very hard to answer, because when it comes to a point when you can't recognize if it was made by a human or a computer, then you can't really speculate anymore, and it comes to the point of a belief, I guess. So you could think it's art until you would realize that it was made by a computer, and then it doesn't suddenly consider art. That would be strange, probably. So I would say it still is, even if it's made by a computer, probably to some degree, at least.
Yeah, perhaps it also depends whether we are talking about like formalistic art, so only visuals, or whether we seek also some meaning or some idea behind the art itself, like something that is being communicated to us. So I mean, I personally am not afraid of being replaced as an artist by AI, because I think it's still us humans who need to give meaning to the art piece, or you know, have this initial idea. But who knows? Like maybe one day when AI is able to think for itself, then maybe they can also do art. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Like the rest of the group, do any of you have any opinion on that?
I just have this comment that I think it actually helps, because sometimes we realize that we also use very simple algorithms to generate some part of our art, or even other kinds of thinking actually use very simple algorithms. So I think what is interesting is that you suddenly realize which moments were actually very simply generated, and when you are starting to do more complex processes which are yet unattainable by just this raw silicon power. So there definitely are moments, even in the creative process, which are rather simple algorithmic thinking. So, you know, let's say, but I'm not saying this generally, but more as an example, that generating an intriguing title for something, and you could probably make up a few criteria that would create exciting titles for your work. And at that point you might think, okay, maybe generating exciting titles is not that much of a big deal, so I should let go of it in general. So then maybe some of these formalistic and maybe cool things, but which are easily attainable, will actually go away, because then there will be no value in this kind of esoteric randomness. So this is one thing which it might be actually helpful.
Nice, thank you. Okay, so should we move to the last group?
Yeah, we can. So hi, I'm Samuel, and in my group are also Adela and Jan. And we prepared 3 cards. Every card is different, and everybody is presenting their own card and their own ideas behind it. And I think that Jan is going first, so I'm going to share the screen of his card, and so you can see it. I don't know if you can see the screen.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But you can see. I'm sorry. But you can see the screen, like I'm moving the thing. Or no?
I don't see it moving, but I see the card. So.
Oh, you can see the card.
Yeah.
No. So I will leave the words to Jan, if you can see it.
Yeah, so hi, good evening. The idea behind this card was sort of like the usual very known quote, like what you fear the most is what you want the most secretly. So I think that one of the biggest fears of artificial intelligence today is like this idea of replacement, this idea that robots and AIs can replace us, not and mostly in terms of jobs and of our own sort of like a value in society, which we base on our skills and our abilities to perform some sort of an employment. And there's like this very nice idea that AI and robots can do the mechanical manual work, while the humans can focus on performing like more interesting jobs and fulfill their potential. Uh, but we don't really talk about replacing humans in terms of personalities and in terms of like personal behavior outside of employment. So I thought that it would be interesting to create a robot which is called imitating robot Sombre, which is just a random name actually, but I don't know, it just kind of sounded funny, Sombre to me. And this robot, as I will soon read, is capable of imitating human behavior and doing it so perfectly that it can actually become the person, like in terms of visual, but also in terms of character. So I will read the skills, the things that it's capable of doing, and then there is a final question after it, like what it means for us, what kind of questions it raises. So the robot is called imitating robot Sombre. Sombre can track and recognize human faces and gestures and imitate them within minutes of meeting somebody. Sombre can both express and understand emotions when faced with them, starting with basic feelings such as happiness or sadness to more complex emotions like ambivalence or nervousness. Sombre is also capable of imitating people as in their complexity, meaning he can recognize their character and the way they talk and gesture within an hour, after which he is able to completely mimic their behavior. Sombre can react to touch or voice commands in a way in which the original person he is imitating would. Um, so it's basically a robot like capable of completely replacing somebody else's personality and behavior. And I think the sort of questions it raises are, for example, like, is there such a thing as human individuality? Is there really something truly like a personality which is our own? Or are we all just performing in a way based on other humans, based on our heroes and the things we read and saw? So yeah, so I think that it's not just a project or not just a robot as an object, but also like a existential question of performance and personality. Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll move on to Adela, if you would. I will show you.
Okay, so hello everyone. So I created this little card with actually a deep dream picture on it. It's a picture of Miss Magius Pokemon who has the ability to make others hallucinate. And the topic I'm focusing on is basically whether machines themselves can be dreaming or hallucinating. And I'm going to take a short look into these possibilities of computer dreams. So the closest that we have come nowadays to computers being able to think on their own and by extension even dream in a field of artificial intelligence is a process known as deep learning. And deep learning allows computers to learn by themselves, but for that it requires a vast amount of data, and that is usually collected by sensors or camera from the environment. From that we have transformation into sensory knowledge, which is basically a comprehensive ability to learn from sight, sound, touch, movement. And what we already have in some form like this are self-driving cars that learn by checking the surroundings and then make a decision based on the learned data. And then we have also creative element, which is like finding patterns meaningful in certain contexts, and how basically the human and machine world can intersect for a lot of interesting creative collaborations. And in the end, it's like dreaming based on data used as a form of memories or experiences. And to this point, the art of computer science has been more in how the answers are reached than in what the answers actually turn out to be. And as this kind of wide research in AI advances, it has become possible to glimpse parallels between certain features of AI and human cognitive functions, including in some cases a sort of, I would say, primitive capacity to dream. And most AI that dream, however, have very limited control over what they can actually dream about. And currently, there seem to be essentially three ways in which computers dream. And the first is actual a dream by an accident. Those dreams are called as well hallucinations. And it's viewed as some form of a mistake in this like AI process, but for computers, they might not even be such a thing as hallucinations, since everything they do is calculated based on maths and logic. So even if we as humans perceive something as a hallucination or a mistake, it might be that just we are not seeing the patterns the way that the computers can. And the second is that a computer can dream through programs like the Google's Deep Dream that I used on the picture of the Lis Magius. This gives a window into the actual inner workings of an AI. And the deep dream is most relevant for programs that recognize structure in images, often using a type of artificial neural network known as deep convolutional neural network, which is basically a class of deep neural network, most commonly applied to analyze the visual imaginary. And the third process is a process called experience replay, which is for me like I think the hardest to understand. And this is basically a process that can improve the rate at which AIs learn and arguably bears the closest resemblance to actual dreaming. And this is all from me, and I will move my words to Samuel.
Okay, so I've prepared something like a Pokemon card, but I've wondered like what if artificial intelligence could have faith, and what would it believe in? if would it believe in peace, God, equality, or religion, or if it could and would believe the data of the process of belief could be quite helpful to us. The data of the believer, which I called this robot, he's the believer, could be very useful for us and could be used for the better of our society and our humanity. And can artificial intelligence have a more precise connection or belief than humans based on numbers or whatever? If yes, then human preachers would lose their jobs. The believer can find the meaning and point in every religion and shares the wisdom with other followers of the religion. He can answer your questions. For example, what would Jesus do in that situation, or what would God want you to do? And he can set you up a schedule or harmonogram on how to achieve nirvana or enlightenment. And he has the pure faith and belief without any human trace, can be programmed to any religion, and can preach and forgive. Also can answer the questions of life, and also teaches meditation and plays ambient music. So that's my idea of this believer robot. And I would like to open the discussion or whatever you want to ask us about our cards. So that's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, your group really touched some existential questions. I like that. So, yeah, we can open the discussion.
Yeah. So basically, like the question, like for a beginning, I suppose, could be like if a robot sort of like mimics the personality of another person, is he really like becoming the person? Is it possible for somebody to replace you? Because if that robot looked exactly the same as you and behaved exactly the same as you, he could be friends with your friends, for example, and replace you during like social meetings where you wouldn't want to go for some reason. And I don't know, it's like the basic, like I think it's like similar to the question, if you have a ship and the ship crashes and you build that ship again from the same pieces, is it the same ship? Like if, like if I transfer it back to the robot as a metaphor.
I think it is more of a matter of the correspondence of a map and the terrain. That just because the map and every point on the map can be one-to-one mapped, sorry for the term, but if the map can be mapped on the terrain one-to-one, it doesn't mean that the terrain can be mapped one-to-one on the map. Because maybe you have the topography, but you probably don't have what is under the ground on the map, or you don't have the map of the crevices and all the secret passages. Or maybe you even have a map of the secret crevices and passages, but you still don't have the map of all the memories and all the history that happened in this landscape, for example. So what I'm trying to say is that my honest opinion is that you can probably have use cases and you can probably use the AI copy for certain things and then not use it for other things. So in certain situations it works because a map can guide you the same way if you want to get somewhere on the landscape, but there are other things which it cannot. So I feel it is like situationally replacing you, but not in its completeness.
But I guess this also reveals to what extent actually a role, cultural, social role, which we associate with personality is actually based on rituals. Other people somehow, exercise upon you, and that fortifies that part of personality which is like public facing in a way, because of course like there is a certain match between like first person perspective and the social role personality kind of model, but these models are not identical always, and there is some kind of mismatch which can be actually quite productive because it is actually widely, you know, exploited in any kind of digital identity. But the last card was so nice because it reminded me of one real robot which was built in Japan, like I guess in 20s or 30s, like 1920s or 1930s. It was called Gakuten Soku, and it was made to actually not automate some manual labor or things we usually associate with robots in our Western culture. But in Japanese culture, that was the first robot was meant to be the best of humankind, to basically exhibit the perfection, the spiritual qualities, the understanding of nature. That was basically what the robot should embody. And it strikes me always like how well suited are non-European cultures to understand agency and perfection of non-humans in this way, machines included.
Well, there is this interesting thing about the water protectors in North America, that suddenly the Native Americans had even a myth for the oil pipe, and it was the black serpent, that you can suddenly kind of map your own beliefs even to the new technology. I think that was an interesting moment during this water protector crisis. That a legend which seems to have a deeper root suddenly rises from the current occasion, from current technology. And I think it is also something what you just said, that how well equipped they are to import to tackle these new stories with the old vocabulary and still find relevance for it. Because, for example, I think that we are not that well equipped to tackle this kind of vocabulary, and we are always encountering AI as something from the future, something that is unknown, something it was probably never connected with something just as what we saw, that it is something religious or that something that is here and was here. So I think that's an interesting moment.
That's true. Matteo Pasquinelli says that animism is artificial intelligence made in the absence of electricity.
So electricity is overrated. I would also, if you want to ask or cross ask something about each other's project, I think this is the time. If you want to make something more clear or even highlight some kind of friendships between cards that you discovered, feel free to comment.
I just wanted to say that this believer card reminded me of the one that was in film THX 1138, where they had like this panel and people were walking there to have their have their pranks. And I was wondering if it would be like some more of a redemption in a notion of artificial intelligence being above like human intelligence, if it would go the same way as it was in medieval ages, perhaps, like you would say what you did wrong and maybe pay a little bit, and your sins would be smashed away.
Yes, I also thought about it. Like, I didn't want to make this robot like something as a father figure or something like that's above us, but I made him that he can preach, but he can also forgive and teach other people like what they did wrong, or based on that religion that they picked from the catalog. And yeah, it's interesting to me, like this idea of belief and faith in in something artificial, in something that cannot like breathe, you know. And that's something that I haven't seen like exposed to me, or being enough brought up, like that theme of belief. So I brought it up with this. Yeah.
I think that's a very nice metaphor, honestly. I'm not a Viashitsi believer in any faith, but I almost see it as, faith as something that you almost have to program into somebody while they're in some kind of beta version of themselves, and they're open to, taking it all in, I guess.
Yeah, that is nicely.
It's kind of a joke. Nobody gets offended.
It's nicely crossing with the baby.
Well, I think this was wonderful. I mean, so far, like, the debate is so great. And also, I hope that any viewers which are still with us understand that this is an entertainment program mainly, that really the goal is that we have fun together doing this, discussing these things. And I really hope you have fun with us as well.
Yes, and the audience can also join the discussion and ask questions in the YouTube chat. I am checking it, so if you guys who are watching, I see 8 viewers at the moment.
But I think it is just interesting to realize that we have some actors for this game, but we don't have a game yet. So it almost rises from these and actually the funny moment would be to give these cards to an AI and ask the AI, so what is the game if these are the cards?
That's so nice that you are mentioning it, because there's actually the thought that I opened the panel discussion on the same topic on Friday. I used a quote from Joanna Zilinska when she's asking if AI is a game changer, then what is the game? So it's exactly the same thing. Yeah. So what we're doing here, like, yeah, we are making the cards for a game, but we don't know what the big game is actually. And who is defining this game? Or is it already set and happening? Are we already playing?
So I think these questions cannot be answered right now, and need to be left open in our heads, and hopefully meet together
next time.
Yeah, that's the question that we can all continue thinking about. And yeah.
So I guess
maybe that's something we cannot beat at the end.
Yeah. I guess it remains to thank you for all of your effort that you brought, and all the cards that you created. And I hope this is not a workshop output, but this is just a conversation starter, and that in some way or some kind of form we may rejoin, and then we will see what happens as the story unfolds itself, and we will see what happens to AI and what happens to us. So thank you very much, and thank you, Lenka, for organizing this event.
Yes, thank you, Lenka, so much. And thanks, everyone. I'm really proud of what we did together, not just FAMU students, but all the people in the room, all the collective. The whole crowd was perfect. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. Also, big thank you from me. And I'm really happy that you had the will to participate and discuss. And I hope it left a lot of food for thoughts in your head, also for your personal projects, maybe. And also, I hope that this was a beginning of a beautiful friendship between you guys, between these two programs. So thank you again, and see you somewhere online or maybe offline. Feel free to check the program of the festival. There might be some interesting talks for you in the... Well, actually, the program is now turning into archive, so you can watch most of the events, and maybe some questions will get answered when you will watch the talks. So that will be all from me. Also, I will say bye to our audience that is watching us, and maybe if someone wants to continue the discussion, let's find each other in the festival Discord channel. I shared the link here in the chat and also on YouTube chat.